So 2 years back, I thought of building a website where I could put all my pet projects and whatever the blogs I would write, and I coded it, and I just wanted to show you guys how I built it and the journey. Okay, so let's look at my website first. Okay, so let me go to that. Okay, so this is basically my website. So this is my hero page, and once you click here, you go down, you get about section. Then you have a contact me page where you can just write me anything and submit it, and I'll be notified. And after that, I have a blog page where I have written some blogs, right? So you can go ahead and read my blogs. And then I do have a project page where whatever the projects that I do, I have enlisted those. And then you have my resume section where you could just check my resume. Okay, so this is basically my website for anyone, but I also have a login functionality, right? So I need to log in if I want to log in. Okay, so let me insert those credentials. Cool. So I'm logged in as Thor now, right? So once I'm logged in, I also get an admin section. Okay, and so let's look at the blog section now. Once I'm logged in, I get this create button here. Once you go to create, okay, and then you can choose any image. Okay, so let's choose Thor. Hello YouTube. Summary: I am God. How are you? 8. Right, so let me publish this. So basically you can publish a blog, and if you are an admin, you also get to approve a blog, right? So if I go here, and if I can either approve or I can delete it. Okay, so let's say if I approve it, now this blog will be published on website for everyone. Okay, so let's say if I open Chrome and we go to and so I'm not logged in here, but still if I go to blog page, see, this blog is published now, so this is visible to everyone. So this is one functionality. And then if you are an admin, you go to this page, you can basically upload your resume, you can upload any document, you can monitor user activities, and you also get an inbox to check if if someone has messaged you or not. So let's say Captain America has messaged me, right? So I can do all these things. So you get this, and you can also basically restart your app if you want. So yeah, but you need to be admin for this. So basically this website has bunch of functionalities where you have if you have certain roles, you can perform certain actions, right? So yeah, and you can be admin, you can be an author, anything, right? So yeah, this is the entire app. This is basically our multi-module project. and you can look at it. We have our auth server, which is in Java. Then we have our blog service. This is a different server, and this is also in Java. And we have our file server, which is also in Java. Then we have our main app, which basically interacts with the UI, which has UI, which is our portfolio Angular Spring server. So this is also in Java. A good thing about microservices architecture is these applications, they don't need to be in Java. So for example, if I want to keep this one in Python, I can just change their whole tech, and I just need to make sure that the APIs, they stay the same, and other than that I don't have to worry about this. So yeah, this is the whole architecture. So now let's look at our server architecture, right? So this is kind of what it looks like. Okay, so let's say I have a user. Then whenever user queries, the first thing that he or she hits is portfolio Angular server. Okay, so let's say the user goes to localhost. The first thing they are going to hit is portfolio Angular server. Okay, and when anyone goes to localhost, right? Localhost port 80. Okay, what will they be served? Okay, first of all, they'll be served is index.html, because this when nothing goes in the context, right? When there's a slash, then it just serves us index.html. Now this index.html, this is actually rendered by our Angular. Okay, so this is actually Angular's code. Okay, so what actually happens is when you hit this, it hits a controller, slash hits a controller, and when it sees, okay, there is no other context, it is going to serve you index.html. Okay, now with Angular, the code is written that whenever anyone goes to, let's say, right, so let me use this space here. So whenever anyone goes to /app, once Angular is rendered, okay, they will be given the Angular components. Okay, Angular components. So with /app, these components will be rendered. Okay, but when someone does not use it and they go directly to a service, let's say /blog, okay, then it is going to hit this service. Okay, so once you come here and you, let's say, go to /blog, it is going to hit this service and it is going to fetch you all the blocks. Okay, now the blog service, it connects with the database. This service connects with the database, and whatever the blocks are there in database, blog table, it will return that. It is going to return you all the blocks, and these blocks are rendered from here, and they go to user. Okay, now let me finish this. Okay, let me shift this. Okay, all right. Now whenever someone has let's say asked for a blog, and if let's say that blog has some images, okay, the images are rendered through file service. Okay, and so let's say if they have hit a blog and that blog consists of an image. Okay, so let's say there is an image tag here, and basically I should put it here instead. If let's say there we have a tag img src equals to /file/1. Okay, so let's say 1 is the image's ID. Okay,
So what's gonna happen is this is going to go to this server, Portfolio Angular Spring server. Right? And similarly, okay, now this has a controller which sees, okay, this is slash file. So this is going to redirect not to blob service but to file server. Okay. So one key is the server again. Okay. Oh. So this will hit the file servers here. Okay, this is going to hit the file server, and let's say this is one. Now the file server, it will connect with the database first. Okay, now this is going to connect with the database to fetch the details of that particular file. Okay, where is it stored? In my server. Okay, once it gets those details, it is going to query, or you can say it would rather, you know, check a file location in your SSD, and then it is going to return you that file. Okay, so this is going to serve you the file itself. So the file will come here, from here it will fetch the details, then it is going to query your server's storage, and then it is going to return you the file. Right, so this is how the entire thing is set up, and and the files will be rendered on your UI. And similarly this architecture works that, okay, whenever user wants to authenticate, right, they will go to /login, and then the Portfolio Angular, it will you know, ask the auth server, or it will provide them the credentials. So here the user will give the username and password, okay, it will go to the auth server, and auth server will connect to database. Okay, auth server will check, okay, is this path, are these things correct, and it will give us, okay, user can log in success. Okay, now once Portfolio server, it sees, okay, auth server has like given it a go ahead to log in, it is going to create a session at its end. Okay, and with session it is going to provide this a token. Okay, so now the user will have to keep the token with themselves. Okay, so this token, it will be stored on the browser, and with each request, if the user wants to stay login, okay, they'll have to send that particular token with each and every request. If they do not send that token, they, you know, no request will go through. They won't be able to perform any task that, if let's say the user was admin or any other role, if they had any other role, they could have performed, they won't be able to perform. So whenever someone comes on Portfolio Angular server, they first of all, that this server is going to look for the token, and it will see, okay, does a session exist? If the session exists, you know, it is going to load all your roles and whatever rights you have from database, and then only it will allow you to perform certain actions. Okay, so this is how the entire thing is set up. But there was a big issue with this whole architecture. Okay, so let me explain to you what the issue was. Okay, so this was my old laptop. It was a 2019 Mac. I don't know if even it will start or not. Okay, so the battery is low. So let me turn it on, and I'll show you what the issue was. Okay. Okay, so the laptop has finally turned on. Let's look at it now. Okay, so I am running these projects now. Okay, so let's look at them. one by one.
And it already stopped. Okay, let's see what the issue is. Okay, I need to start it with this profile, I guess. Let me choose this profile. Cool, starting now. See, it started. Okay, now let's start another one. Let me start with blog service first. Okay, let's look at the profile. Do we already have a profile for this? Yeah, we do have. Let me start with this. What does it say? Again, I think it is not getting this profile. So what happens is in Spring you have this concept of profiles, right? Where depending on your environment you can choose a profile. So for example, if I choose a local profile, so it is going to pick this application -local.properties. Okay, so I think the profile is not set correctly here. Let me check that. Let's do one thing. Let me write my own profile. Okay, let's try to run it now. Yep, started. See? Okay, now let's start our file server. I think for file server there should already be a profile. Nope. Let's start it from here. Okay, see, this has started as well. Now there is just one service, auth server. Let me start that as well. And right, so all our servers are up. So now if I go to localhost, See, the server is up. Okay, now let me open my activity monitor. Now just look at the memory consumption. This laptop had a total memory of 8 GB. Okay, and just look at the memory use. Now it's 7 GB. Okay, and how much is my IntelliJ consuming? 2.4, again 2.21, and then Java again 4. So in total this goes to around 2 and 4.4 and 14, 2.8, 3.8, right? Oh, and it keeps increasing, right? So here now it has gotten 1 GB and 2 GB, 2, and so the entire 7 GB is being consumed by this application itself. Okay, and let's say if I open VS Code as well for my development, for the Angular development, then this laptop is going to, beg for its life. Okay, so again, the memory consumption on this laptop is just, touching the roof. So this is why I could not go ahead with this architecture. So what's happening is every app has it's starting its own process. Okay, and every app is consuming a lot of memory, and if I wanted to put this app on server, no, it would have costed a lot, right? Because on server every GB of RAM, it costs a lot, right? So it's best if you have an application that consumes as less memory as possible, right? So keeping this in mind, I redesigned the whole architecture, and I ditched the microservices architecture and I went with the monolithic. Okay, so let's see now. Okay, so this is basically now my monolithic architecture. So if we look at it, so some of the things are same. Like once you hit localhost 80, it first of all it hits portfolio server, right? One thing to notice here now is that the front end and back end both now exist in a single server, right? So the difference from earlier is that now we have just one single server. Okay, so once you hit localhost 80, it gives you index.html back. Okay, and this is basically pre-compiled Angular code. And then now what I have done is, in this architecture, earlier we had different servers for different functionalities, right? Now for every server we have a different package. So I have moved the code from different servers to different packages, and for each package there is a controller. Okay, so first of all, for example, we have an index controller. So the first hit that you do, which is of slash, so you have your dispatcher servlet which maps it to index.html location, right? Next, what you do is you do user authentication, right? Entitlement. So now we have auth controller for that, right? And we also have our database, which is directly connected with our portfolio server, right? So here, once you have your auth controller, it goes to the database, checks the user's credentials, and if they are fine, it gives back all the entitlements, right? And similarly, once you log in, the session also is generated a similar way. It goes to the backend and then checks for those credentials. If they match, it creates a session. Okay, and similarly, now once you hit the blog API, right, /blog, should add a slash here, right, and you give the page number and the number of blocks, then similarly it goes to the block controller and then hits the database, and then it returns back the block to you, right? Similarly, once you query any file, right, so let's say I query /file/1, right? So what's gonna happen is it will go check the database, and from the database it is going to look fetch all the file details. Okay, and once it has the file details, it will also query the SSD. Not query, I mean it will look up the SSD for the path. Okay, and once it gets that path, right, it is going to give you the file back, right? So from here it also checks for that path, and then it basically returns you the file back. Okay, so I forgot to add it here, but yeah, this is how it works. So this is basically now your monolithic architecture. Okay, so this is now the monolithic app, and you can look at it like in app we have all our static files, which is our UI, right? So yeah, it's here, and these are basically through this code we generate the templates and then we put it in our templates folder, right? And we also have our backend here. And if you look at the controllers, we have our auth controller, block controller, file controller, right? So from different servers, basically these, I took the code from those servers and just pushed it here, right? So now, you know, everything will be connected directly from our portfolio server. Okay, so now this server is up and running. Let me check. Yeah, this is working fine. Now let's look at our activity monitor as well. Okay, so IntelliJ itself is consuming 2.60 GBs, but our Java process, like this process is like from going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 servers, each having let's say 1.5 GBs, to just a single server with 1.94 GB, right? So if I look at this, so yeah, I mean, this is like, you know, quite an improvement on our memory RAM consumption, right? So yeah, this has drastically reduced our RAM consumption. Okay, and now everything is here. You don't have to, like, you know, write a code to fetch as well from different servers. So yeah, you directly connect to database and everything is here. So that's why I went with Monolith. Okay, so the problem that I'm trying to solve here is that when I run the server, okay, and for any component in Angular that is lazily loaded, what I have done currently is that I have for the first time, when that service gets called, it fetches the value of a user from server, and it says, okay, is the user admin or not, and it's a boolean value. It saves that, it puts that value in a class level variable. Okay, so if you look at the user service class, right, so I was putting that value in this variable, right? So currently it's false, but if I have logged in as an admin, okay, this becomes true. And since this service is provided in root, and this makes it singleton, right? So whenever I inject this wherever I inject this service, it should do the state management by itself, right? So if I have already updated the value of this variable, wherever, doesn't matter where I inject this, wherever I inject this service to any component, any module, this is admin user variable should have a value of true if I have already updated it to true, right? But that is not happening currently. Okay, I don't know why, but for some reason it always sets itself to default value, right? Earlier what I was doing was, whenever this class got loaded, whenever this service got injected anywhere, I used to make a backend call again and used to check if the user is admin. But that ends up being a lot of calls, backend calls. So I just wanted to replace those calls with some sort of state management. But clearly this is not working. So now what I have done is I have created a behavior subject, okay? And what I'm doing is I am updating it, okay? Is admin user, right? So this should give me true, right? This should give me true. Okay, now since this is a behavior subject, okay, this should get updated by itself, right? Whenever I call this variable, this subject from any component, right, it should update itself. It should return me true value. Okay, now I'm not sure if this is gonna work or not, but let's see. Okay, we start this out. There's always something. Pause. So I got a white label error page. Okay, so this means that our templates, they are not generated correctly. Okay, so I need to run a build. Okay, if I run a build, I'll have to check for my grader. Okay, I'm going to run staging. Okay, and staging has what? Staging has staging, right? So I should have on access to all the files here, right? Because staging configuration, it does not do optimization. If we look at my angular.json, okay, so source map is true, optimization is false. Okay, so this should work. Let's see. Let me first stop this. Let me run this. So if you look at our npm task, so this has run this command. Okay, so configuration is staging and the build is successful, right? So now we should not have any problem. Ideally we should not have any problem, but this is software engineering, and no matter what you do, the problems, they never stop. They keep on coming, they keep on coming. Okay, now let me refresh this. Okay, this worked. Let me lolcat. Wait, let me hide my credentials. Okay, so I'm logged in as Thor, right? Now let me inspect this. Why is this false? I have no clue. Why is this false? Shouldn't it be true now? Wait. So if I go to this section, right, just look at this. Okay, so this is basically a link, right? And if you can see at the bottom left corner, so this is basically a link. So once I click on this, the whole page refreshes. Right here, if you look at this again, this is going to refresh. See, now the problem is this was actually an href. Okay, so so what happens is, once you have an href in your code, it basically goes to that link and that refreshes, right? Whereas in Angular, you do this a little differently. You use router link, right? With router link, even when you go to any of the links, any of the page links, it basically your state is preserved, and you in the router's object, you can see all those states, right? So let me build this one and I'll show you how this is fixed. Refresh the page. Right now you can see the link is still there, right? But notice this, it won't refresh now. See, it did not refresh. So basically now you'll be able to preserve all the states, right? So the problem was when I was keeping something in my service, when I was doing state management through service, because the entire page, it used to get refreshed, those things, they kept getting lost. Okay, so this was the issue. Now let me show you one more thing. Okay, so see, now I'm not logged in here. So currently I'm not logged in on this system, right? Now let me log in. Okay, now I'm logged in on this system, right? Now let me open Chrome. Hold on. So here also, currently I'm not logged in, right? And if I look for cookies, right, so there are no cookies currently. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the cookies here, right? So let me use a little bit of JavaScript. Okay, so now let's look at so this cookie is set here, right? Now let me refresh the page. See, I'm logged in. I did not do anything on this browser, right? So let's think of, even if this is a different machine, right, I will be able to log in if I just have those cookies, right? So what actually happens is, when you're using a cookie is basically provided once you log in, your server, it basically provides you the cookie, right? So here, as I'm using Spring Security, right? So what's happening here is, if I go to right, so what happens in Spring Security, what it does is, you have your security context holder. Okay, now this basically, your user, it is set here that okay, you are now logged in, right? And it gives you a cookie back, right? Once you have that cookie, anytime you make another request to a server, you can basically make a check against that request, and what it is going to do, it is going to check using that cookie. Okay, did I send this cookie? And it keeps this in it keeps this in its memory, right? And what it does is, it will check that particular cookie against the cookie that it has, and it will give you the user, right? So if you are logged, if you have that cookie, basically you are logged in, right? So there are some other authentication mechanisms as well, like JOT, but here once you use cookies for doing this job, I mean, this is how it's done. So it's really important that you don't have viruses or something on your server which using which someone else, they can basically steal your cookies, right? If you, let's say, have a Chrome plugin which you did not install from a Chrome store, and it has some malicious code in it which keeps on fetching cookies of the websites that you have visited, and it keeps sending it to another server. If they get that cookie, they are also locked in. So yeah, I hope you guys understood this concept as well. So basically this is the whole thing. Like I spent some time building this website, and yeah, I hope you like this video as well. So yeah, thank you. Okay, so this was my portfolio website which I built, and I hope you guys liked it. So yeah, let's see, I'll maybe make another video explaining some more programming concepts or something which I do on this website itself. So thanks for watching.